please enjoy the sense of our friends gathering here and the sense of support and the sense of togetherness. And know that your presence is deeply appreciated and blessed. And this last weekend, we had our first Indigenous Insight Meditation Retreat. So, in fact, it was the first Indigenous Insight Meditation Retreat in our tradition, for sure. And so we kind of made history. Yes, we did. We really did. And we remarked on that in the middle of the Friday night, I think, and we could have remarked on it on the weekend, that we really made history this weekend in bringing these two traditions together and practicing together. And so tonight, what I would like to invite us to do is I'll offer some of what were highlights for me from the weekend, and then invite those who are on the call tonight who were at the weekend to offer anything that you wish to offer that was a highlight for you. And so for me, one of the connections between the traditions, and certainly we shared a lot of connections between the particularly the Navajo tradition, which Elvina brought to the retreat, but also the mixed heritage tradition, the Métis tradition, and also Bonnie's point was also that the traditions are very compatible and very distinct. So we can't mush them all together. They're very distinct paths, and we can walk together. I think a good way to say it is we can walk together on the path very compatibly. And so one of the ways for me that they connect, I always feel into this, and when we take the refuges, the refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And for me, when I settle into the Sangha, I always do that from a kind of a Métis perspective. I always think of the ancestors, which is in all beings everywhere, which is also in the Buddhist tradition. But a lot of times when we open the refuges in the Buddhist tradition, we don't always bring in the wider Sangha of all the creatures and the ancestors. And so tonight, let's settle into the refuges and into the refuges in a wide way. I always feel like the Indigenous way expands our sense of Sangha. That's why in our Sangha, we always recognize, or very often recognize, the Sangha of nature. It's really, I think, an influence from my being Métis. I just cannot think of Sangha without thinking of nature. And so these are some things we do in our Sangha that are kind of second nature to our Sangha, and we might not recognize the blend of tradition that we already have here. So friends, let's settle into this refuge of the Buddha, the understanding that peace is in our hearts as an innate quality, innate potential. Remembering that can bring us peace all by itself. And then settling into the refuge of the Dharma, which Elvina on the weekend said is also a word in the Navajo tradition, the Dharma, the way. These teachings that that offer us a way, that offer us a path in this life. And then the refuge of the community or the Sangha. Here tonight, this Sangha is community, all the communities that support you, the community of nature, which we can feel in our bodies and our breath, and the community of our ancestors. And so you can bring in your mind and heart and imagination, your blood ancestors, those ancestors that feel a support to you, that you want to bless and thank. And in both of these traditions, the ancestors are very here, present now. And as we sit with our meditation, we're really sitting with the ancestors and offering our practice to the ancestors. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this a lot in his teaching. That every time we sit, we heal the ancestors, offer an opportunity for healing for ourselves and the ancestors. And then also we have our spirit ancestors. You can bring in those people, beings that aren't connected by blood to you, but are connected in spirit. Your teachers, people that you love and are grateful for, who've made a difference in your life. Beings. And then we can bring in the Sangha of the land, the community of the land. Any place that is special to you, precious to you. Bring it into your heart and mind. And we recognize Treaty 6 territory here. And there may be other places that are special to you. These places are your ancestors also, your benefactors. And just bringing them in strengthens your relationship with them. And so we'll settle into our meditation. And the meditation I'm going to offer tonight is an extension of this land ancestry. The sense of being connected to the land and to the whole, all of nature through the elements. This is the element meditation, which I'll offer tonight. A sense into the body, the elemental nature of the earth body and the other 4 elements. And this tradition, this meditation is also one that is shared amongst indigenous traditions and the Buddhist tradition. This way of understanding our experience as our body that's sitting here connected to the larger nature body. And so settling into a sense of your body sitting. And sensing the feet on the floor. Is there any pressure there, a sense of contact? And sensing this sense of the earth element here, this sense of contact, of pressure, of solidity, of weight and heaviness on the floor, on the earth. our earth body connecting the earth, the larger earth body. And then we can sense up through the body. Just, we don't need to feel it directly or strongly, but just sensing the solidity of the body, the bones in the body made up of calcium and other minerals that are also in the earth. The sense of the steadiness, the solidity of the earth body in the calves and the knees and the thighs, the hips. Sensing the steadiness of this whole area, the legs and the feet and the hips. Sensing into the spine as it rises from the hips up through the back and all the way up to the head, this support in the middle of the body, this internal earth element. And then all the arm bones and the rib bones extending, the ribs extending out from the spine, offering this inner support, this inner stability, the earth element. And sensing the hips and the belly and the trunk of the body extending up, sensing the solidity of that, and the chest and the shoulder blades and the shoulders, the whole trunk of the body. The substance of that, the earth element of that. Feeling down the arms, the upper arms, the bones that run and the muscles, this kind of tangible substance, this steady, solid earth body, the elbows, the forearms, and the hands. Noticing the hands touching what they might be touching. A sense of contact with something solid, perhaps. Sense of earth element here in the hands. The shape of the hands. The sense of solidity there. And sensing up the arms, shoulders to the neck. Up the spine supporting the skull. Sensing the back of the head, that solid protection. Sensing up to the top of the head and sensing all the bones there, and then the bones in the forehead and cheeks and the chin. This earth element. And then sensing the kind of the wholeness of the head and the steadiness, the solidity of the head, earth element. And then sensing this whole body from head to trunk of the body and arms and hips and legs and feet, this whole body sitting solid, steady, heavy, supported by the chair. Earth element. And then sensing into whichever part of your body you can feel some tingling, some pulsing, some throbbing, perhaps in the feet, perhaps in the hands. This tingling, pulsing, throbbing is the rhythm of the water element in the blood and other liquids in the body. It's coursing through the body. You can sense this water element in this heartbeat, in this pulse, as this water flows in pulses and rhythms throughout the whole body. And you can sense the water element in the mouth with the saliva and the moisture there. And sense it in the eyes that allow the eyes to be fluid in their socket. Water element held by earth element. And then it's water element that also holds the body together, is a cohesive element, like water in flour that makes the flour into a sticky paste. Water is holding our whole body together. Sensing all the rivers, the fascia, the membranes throughout our body that are liquidy, that have liquid cohesion and hold this, the whole skin that holds the body together is water holding the element of earth together. Sensing water element. And sensing anywhere in the body where you can feel a temperature, a warmth or a coolness, or a kind of a room temperature, neither warm nor cool. Sensing this warmth, coolness as a fire element. This earth element in our bodies and in the larger body of the earth. This water element in our bodies and flowing all over the planet and throughout the atmosphere. This fire element in our bodies fueled by the sun and the photosynthesis in the plants, plant energy, and fueling our own body. And then sensing the air element as it comes in the nostrils expands the lungs, and feeling it expanding the earth body, this earth body, this earth water body stretching with the air element. Air element moving the earth water body in the belly. Air element moving the earth water body in the sides of the body as the ribs expand against the arms. Air element expanding the back of this earth water body. Lifting a little bit of the shoulders of this earth water body. And the air element expanding this whole body of water, this whole trunk of the body. Noticing the place where air element leaves this body of water. Where does this air element become nature outside of ourselves? Imagining this air element extending out in front of you and surrounding you. Connecting you with other nature bodies, the trees and all green living things. Breathing with you. You breathing out, or this, your body of water breathing out carbon dioxide, and other living things breathing that in. Imagining all the trees close by you, breathing out and offering you oxygen. This universal air element that just breathes. Your earth, your water body, and all other bodies. Imagining this air element extending across the land, around the planet. All living green things breathing a deep breath in on the daylight side of the planet, and a big exhale on the nighttime side of the planet. Air element inside, air element outside, no separation. Just letting yourself be breathed. Let yourself experience this air element. And noticing other elements as they come into your awareness. As the air element expands, the earth element, as the water element pulses or tingles, as warmth and fire element makes itself known. Just noticing for the rest of our meditation, resting in these elements and noticing when each one is strong, which one you feel you're noticing most strongly. Making a little note in the back of your mind, whispering, if it's helpful for you, air element, or earth, or water, or fire. Sensing your earth body, the earth element, letting yourself ground in the earth element now as we're closing our time together with the meditation. And as you open your eyes, seeing if you can stay connected with earth element or any of the elements as you're sitting and we're sharing together. So this earth element meditation is in the Buddhist tradition in the first foundation of mindfulness. We often teach the foundations of mindfulness as body, breath, and postures and activities, bringing mindfulness to those parts of our body, those activities of our body. And then right after that, there is, in the first foundation of mindfulness, exercise or meditation on the anatomical parts of the body and then the elements. And so this element meditation has the purpose, many purposes, but one is to help us understand that we're not separate from the world around us, that we're a part of all the causes and conditions in the process of this experience of being. And of course, it's in a big part of the indigenous tradition to recognize the elements. And so I'm going to offer, as I said, some of the highlights, some of the learnings, some of the practices we did on the weekend in the Indigenous Presence Retreat, and then invite those folks who were on the retreat to offer what your sense of the retreat was, what anything that was moving or important for you. And so so we had 3 teachers on the retreat, myself, Elvina Charley, and Bonnie Duran. And each of us had very different styles. And so on the Friday night, the Friday night, we had the Friday night as an affinity group sit for Indigenous people and people of color, so that that community could come together and feel like they were connected. We wanted to have an invitation for that community to gather. And then we had about 20 of those folks join us, or maybe 15, 16 of the Indigenous and people of color folks join, stay for Saturday and Sunday. And then we were about 75 people on the weekend. We were about 45 people on Friday night. And we had a lot of other registrations as well. So we connected with over 100 Indigenous and POC folks across the continent, and many from Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And so we hope that we'll be able to stay connected and continue to connect over the next while with all of those folks. And so our intention was to offer an affinity sit, an affinity time, and introduce mindfulness. And many of the folks that came on Friday night were new. So we introduced mindfulness, and then we were aware that we had a lot of new folks on the weekend. So we walked through the 4 foundations of mindfulness on Saturday for folks who were new. And then Saturday night and Sunday, Elvina kind of came in and did a lot of the teaching then, sharing from her personal experience and how she saw her Navajo teachings and mindfulness connecting. One of the things that she brought in is something I want to share with you, a quote from a Tibetan teacher, Padmasambhava, who was an 8th century Tibetan teacher. And Elvina said that his prophecy was very important to her. And so I'm going to share his prophecy with you. And he made this prophecy in the 8th century. And this is an article from Tricycle, which we can post for you in the chat. Andrea can post for you there. And this is the quote from Padmasambhava. he said, when the iron bird flies, so when air travel comes about, the Dharma will come to the land of the red, I'm going to say the red person, to the indigenous people. And Elvina said that when and so this whole article is about this prophecy. And Elvina said that this was very important for her. And for her, she said that the mindfulness practice really helped her to settle her system, and then that enabled her to connect more deeply with her teachings, the teachings that have been made, that really have been outlawed and made illegal in so many ways through colonialism. And so mindfulness has helped her come back, she said, to her own teachings. And so this prophecy was very important to her. And then she shared this photo with us, this photo of the Dalai Lama visiting and meeting with Hopi elders, her elders, in 1979. And for me, this picture is very moving. Well, they felt obvious, they felt a close connection, they felt so many, this article speaks about similarities, and Elvina spoke about connections between them. When I see their faces, I just feel so moved. And so Elvina shared this with us, and then she also shared quite a bit about how her teachings have been really, how the trauma that has occurred since contact. And I'm sure that many of us are aware of this, but she shared about that in such a personal way, from such a personal place, that it was a deep, deep gift, actually, from her to share that with us. And shared Bonnie's contribution kind of on the Friday night, when she shared a whole bunch of statistics and tables, and she's an academic, so she came in with the studies of the historical trauma, and so we had Elvina's very personal sharing and Bonnie's more academic sharing, and then I came in with some practices. And Bonnie also, of course, they both offered practices as well. And on the Sunday, then, Elvina offered the Beauty Way practice, which is at the heart of her Navajo teaching. And she said that the Beauty Way for her is the way of mindfulness, the way of insight meditation. She described the Beauty Way as walking in harmony with all those around us, in all directions, walking in harmony, walking in, and when, that this seemed like such a beautiful connection for us to the practice of kindness, the practice of non-harming that's at the heart of the Buddhist path. And we made an intention to have her teach the Beauty Way, and then I offered the insight meditation practice of radiating kindness in all directions. And so we had her speaking about the Beauty Way of living in harmony in all directions, beauty before her, beauty to the beside, beauty before us, beauty beside us, beauty behind us, beauty to the other side of us, beauty all around, living in harmony. I want to be careful not to teach her teaching, but she shared this in a way that really connected it with the Buddhist teaching, the insight meditation teaching of kindness, caring in all 6 directions, and the early Buddhist radiation teaching of kindness in front of us, kindness to the right of us, kindness behind us, kindness to the left of us, kindness below us, kindness above us. this intention for kindness and wisdom and living with no harming and harmony all around in all directions. And so maybe the last thing I'll share, and then I'll open it up to other folks who are on the retreat, is that the beauty way does remind me also, because it's speaking about this way of harmony and the way of being in harmony with the way things are. So now I'm moving a little bit into the Buddhist language, but when we live in harmony with the way things are, when we live in harmony with this moment, when we can be in alignment with the truth of what's here without delusion, then we're in harmony with how it is. We often say in the Buddhist language, we're in alignment with how it is. And from there, we can sense a flow. We can sense an ease. And the Buddhist term for this is just far, 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 far lacking for me. Especially when I think of it in relation to the beauty way, which is such a beautiful way of describing. Isn't that a beautiful way of describing how we can live our lives? In Buddhist terms, we could say it's the empty way, the way of emptiness. That's not so attractive, is it? It's just not so appealing. But this is the Buddhist language. When we say empty, we mean that we're empty of separation. We are empty of separate self. We are full of the flow of things and interconnected with all beings. I often do think one way I like to think of circles. Like in the indigenous tradition, there's a lot of circles, meeting in circles, which signifies the circle of life, the circle of the seasons, the circle of the elements, the circle of our lifespan, the interconnection of everything. And one phrase I sometimes have in my own mind is that these are circles, in the Buddhist understanding, circles of emptiness, empty of separation, empty of separate self. But it would be nice to find a different word. And so in our own ways, we can feel into how we can describe this sense of interconnection. Of course, Thich Nhat Hanh is so poetic about this sense of being a part of the flow of things. So, friends, that's some of my reflections from the weekend, and I want to open it up to other folks who are there to offer anything that stood out for you. What was it? Is there anything that is rippling in your heart from the weekend? Anything that stood out for you? You can just feel our hearts full of the presence of the teachers we had this weekend and full of our own grateful hearts. These hearts that feel touched and moved and connected. And so just may the merit of our practice ripple out and touch all beings everywhere. May it touch Elvina's heart and Bonnie's heart with our gratitude. And may it touch all Indigenous people and people of color everywhere who've experienced challenges and discrimination and racism and trauma. And may our practice also ripple out and touch the community that Bonnie called our beloved European relations. All beings of non-Indigenous persuasion who are also challenged with the trauma of racism. May all beings everywhere feel freedom in their hearts, have a path to freedom and peace in their hearts. May our practice be a cause and condition for this freedom in the hearts of all beings. Thank you, everyone, for the presence, for your authenticity and your sharing tonight. It's touched me deeply.